The world would have you believe that transformation requires fanfare, that success demands announcement, that change must be visible to be real. How wrong they are. The mightiest oak grows in silence, its roots deepening without applause, its branches reaching toward heaven without ceremony. The same principle governs your own becoming. You must learn to build yourself quietly, deliberately, with the same unwavering faith that governs the cycles of nature itself.
Tonight I share with you 5 ways, not suggestions, not possibilities, but absolute methods by which you can construct the life you desire without seeking permission from the world, without requiring validation from others, without waiting for circumstances to align with your wishes. These are not mere techniques. They are fundamental laws of consciousness that, properly applied, will transform your entire existence from within.
The first way you must master is the art of assumption without announcement. You see, most people make the grave error of announcing their intentions before they have established them in consciousness. They declare to the world what they plan to become, what they intend to achieve, what they hope to manifest. But I tell you, the moment you announce your desire to others, you have weakened its power. You have invited dark criticism and the limited beliefs of others to contaminate the pure seed of your intention. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, and this is the cornerstone of all manifestation, you must do so in the sacred privacy of your own mind. You must feel yourself to be what you desire to be, not what you hope to become, not what you are working toward, but what you already are in the realm of imagination. This assumption must be worn like an invisible garment known only to you and the creative principle that responds to your every mental state. I have watched countless individuals destroy their own manifestations by sharing their inner work with others before it had time to take root in their subconscious mind. They would assume the state of their fulfilled desire, feel the reality of it, live in its truth, and then in a moment of excitement or need for validation, they would share the inner experience with someone who could not possibly understand. The doubt of others, the skepticism of the unawakened would then enter their consciousness like a virus, undermining the very foundation they had been building. Your assumptions about yourself and your life must be protected like precious seeds in fertile soil. They must be nurtured in darkness before they can emerge into the light. When you assume that you are already the person you desire to be, whether that is wealthy, successful, loved, healthy, or free, this assumption must be your secret. It must be lived inwardly with such conviction that it begins to reshape your entire sense of self. The power of assumption lies not in hoping or wishing, but in feeling. You must feel yourself to be what you desire to be with the same naturalness that you feel yourself to be who you are right now. If you desire wealth, you must feel wealthy, not hopeful about wealth, not working toward wealth, but actually wealthy in your consciousness. This feeling, when sustained and protected from the contradictory evidence of the senses and the opinions of others, will inevitably externalize itself in your experience. But remember the moment you announce this inner assumption to others before it has manifested. You open it to their limited beliefs about what is possible for you. They will judge your assumption based on your current circumstances, your past history, your apparent limitations. Their doubt becomes a force that works against your inner certainty. And unless your faith is absolutely unshakable, their disbelief will contaminate your assumption. This is why the wise build in silence. They know that the creative power responds to feeling, not to explanation. They understand that consciousness is the only reality and everything else is simply a reflection of consciousness. When you change your consciousness about yourself quietly, without fanfare, without announcement, you give your new assumption time to take root and grow strong before it encounters the resistance of the outer world. The second way you must embrace is the practice of mental rehearsal in solitude. Your imagination is not a luxury, it is the very workshop of creation. Every day you must set aside time to retreat into the sanctuary of your mind and live from the end of your desire. This is not daydreaming, this is conscious creation. This is the deliberate use of your imagination to impress upon your subconscious mind the reality of your fulfilled fish. In the quietness of your private moments, you must construct scenes that imply the fulfillment of your desire. If you desire success in your career, you must imagine scenes that would naturally occur if that success were already yours. Feel the congratulations of colleagues. Experience yourself in the position you desire. Handle the responsibilities that come with your achieved goal. Make these imaginal acts so vivid, so real, so natural, that they feel more real than your current circumstances. The key to effective mental rehearsal is not to imagine yourself getting what you want, but to imagine yourself having what you want. There is a crucial difference. When you imagine yourself getting something, you are affirming that you do not yet have it. You are living in the consciousness of lack, of wanting, of striving. But when you imagine yourself having what you desire, where you live, in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are impressing upon your subconscious mind the reality of possession, not the experience of acquisition. This mental rehearsal must be done in solitude because it requires complete focus and uninterrupted feeling. In the presence of others, your attention is divided. You cannot fully immerse yourself in the feeling of your wish fulfilled when part of your consciousness is concerned with how you appear to others. Solitude gives you the freedom to experience your imaginal acts with the intensity and reality necessary to impress them upon your subconscious mind. During these periods of mental rehearsal, you must engage all of your senses, but beyond the sensory details, you must cultivate the emotional reality of your fulfilled desire. You must feel the satisfaction, the joy, the peace, the confidence that would naturally accompany the realization of your goal. This emotional component is absolutely crucial because emotion is the language of the subconscious mind. Your subconscious response, not to your thoughts, but to your feelings. When you can generate the authentic feeling of your wish fulfilled, you have communicated your desire to the creative principle in the only language it understands. The beauty of mental rehearsal in solitude is that it allows you to perfect your desired state before it manifests externally. You can practice being the person you want to become until that state of being becomes natural to you. You can rehearse your success until confidence becomes your default setting. You can experience your desired relationships until love becomes your predominant feeling in the privacy of your imagination. You can become accustomed to living from the end, so that when your desire manifests in the physical world, you are ready to receive it naturally. This brings us to the third way, the cultivation of inner dialogue transformation. Most people are completely unconscious of the conversation that runs constantly through their minds. They allow their inner dialogue to be random, reactive, and often destructive. But I tell you, your inner conversation is the most powerful creative force in your life. Every word you speak to yourself, every statement you make about yourself in the privacy of your mind is an instruction to your subconscious mind. Your inner dialogue is literally creating your experience moment by moment, day by day. If you desire to build yourself quietly, you must take complete control of your inner conversation. You must become the conscious director of your mental chatter. Instead of allowing your mind to repeat the same old stories about your limitations, your problems, your fears, you must deliberately choose thoughts that align with your Z reality. Your inner dialogue must reflect the person you are becoming, not the person you have been. This transformation of inner dialogue must happen in the quiet moments when you are alone with your thoughts. When you are driving, when you are falling asleep, when you are performing routine tasks that do not require your full attention, your mind naturally turns inward. These are the precious moments when you can practice new patterns of thinking, when you can rehearse the inner conversation of your ideal self. Instead of thinking thoughts like, I can't afford this, or this never works for me, or I'm not good enough, you must consciously choose thoughts that assume your desired reality is already true. You must think from the end, not toward the end. Your inner dialogue must reflect the consciousness of someone who already has what you desire, who already is what you want to become. If you desire financial abundance, your inner dialogue must be that of a financially abundant person. Instead of worrying about money, you must think thoughts of gratitude for your financial security. Instead of fear about the future, you must maintain inner conversations about your wise investments and multiple income streams. This is not pretending or lying to yourself. This is choosing to live from the consciousness of your fulfilled desire rather than from the consciousness of your current limitations. The power of inner dialogue transformation lies in its cumulative effect. Every thought you think, a statement you make, is adding to the overall impression you are making upon your subconscious mind. When you consistently maintain inner conversations that align with your desired reality, you are literally programming your subconscious to accept that reality as true. Your subconscious mind, being completely impersonal and utterly faithful, will then work to make your outer experience conform to your inner convictions. But this inner work must be done quietly, privately, consistently. It cannot be a part-time effort or a casual experiment. Your inner dialogue is operating 24 hours a day, whether you are conscious of it or not. If you want to transform your life, you must take conscious control of this inner conversation and maintain that control consistently over time. The fourth way is perhaps the most challenging for most people, the mastery of emotional independence. You see, most individuals are emotional slaves to their circumstances. They feel good when things go well and feel bad when things go poorly. Their emotional state is entirely dependent upon external conditions, other people's behavior, and the random events of daily life. But this emotional dependency is the greatest obstacle to conscious creation. To build yourself quietly, you must develop the ability to maintain your desired emotional state regardless of external circumstances. You must become emotionally independent of the world around you. This does not mean becoming cold or unfailing. It means choosing your emotional state based on your inner vision rather than your outer conditions. When you are living from the end, when you are assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled, your emotional state must reflect that assumption consistently. If you have assumed that you are successful, you must feel successful even when your bank account says otherwise. When you notice yourself reacting emotionally to external circumstances in a way that contradicts your assumed state, you must immediately return to the feeling of your wish fulfilled. You must refuse to let temporary conditions determine your permanent emotional stance. The key to mastering emotional independence is understanding that your feelings create your experience, not the other way around. Most people have this backwards. They believe that circumstances create their feelings. But the truth is that their feelings create their circumstances. When you maintain the feeling of your wish fulfilled regardless of current conditions, you are impressing upon the creative principle the very feeling that will externalize as your new reality. This emotional mastery cannot be achieved through willpower or positive thinking alone. It requires a fundamental shift in your understanding of causation. You must recognize that consciousness is the only reality and that everything else is simply a reflection of consciousness. When you truly understand this principle, you realize that changing your external world is simply a matter of changing your internal world. You begin to see circumstances not as causes but as effects, not as realities but as reflections. In the quietness of your daily life, you must practice holding your desired emotional state especially when your senses contradict it. This is the true test of faith. Anyone can feel successful when success is evident. Anyone can feel love when love is apparent. Anyone can feel healthy when health is obvious. But the conscious creator maintains these feelings even when the opposite appears to be true. This emotional independence gradually builds a kind of inner strength that is unshakable. You begin to realize that your happiness, your peace, your confidence, your joy are not dependent upon anyone or anything outside of yourself. You discover that you can generate any feeling you choose simply by assuming the state that naturally produces that feeling. This realization is incredibly liberating and incredibly empowering. The fifth and final way is the development of what I call selective attention through conscious ignorance. This may sound paradoxical, but it is absolutely essential for building yourself quietly. You must develop the ability to ignore what contradicts your assumption and to notice only what confirms it. This is not self-deception. This is the conscious direction of attention toward the reality you are creating. Your attention is your most precious resource. Whatever you consistently pay attention to grows in your experience. If you pay attention to lack, lack grows. If you pay attention to problems, problems multiply. If you pay attention to what is wrong in your life, more wrongness appears. But if you pay attention to abundance, abundance increases. If you pay attention to solutions, solutions manifest. If you pay attention to what is right in your life, more rightness emerges. The practice of selective attention requires you to become consciously ignorant of anything that contradicts your desired reality. When you see evidence that seems to oppose your assumption, you must look away. When people speak words that contradict your inner conviction, you must not let those words enter your consciousness. When circumstances appear to deny your wish fulfilled, you must refuse to acknowledge their reality. This is not about being naive or refusing to deal with practical matters. This is about recognizing that your attention is creative and choosing to focus it only on what you want to create. In the quietness of your daily life, you must train yourself to notice only what supports your assumption and to ignore what opposes it. For example, if you have assumed that you are financially prosperous, you must notice every sign of prosperity in your life, no matter how small. You must pay attention to the money you do have, not the money you lack. You must focus on opportunities for income, not obstacles to wealth. You must observe. Examples of prosperity are pride of you, not exam poverty. This selective attention gradually shifts your entire perception of reality. At the same time, you must develop conscious ignorance of anything that contradicts your assumption of prosperity. When bills arrive, you do not deny their existence, but you do not dwell on them or allow them to generate feelings of lack. When others complain about financial difficulties, you do not join in their conversation. When the news reports economic problems, you turn your attention elsewhere. You become consciously ignorant of lack because you understand that whatever you focus on expands in your experience. This practice of selective attention must be maintained consistently and quietly. You cannot announce to others that you are ignoring certain aspects of reality because they will think you are being unrealistic or irresponsible. But in the privacy of your consciousness, you must be absolutely ruthless about protecting your attention from anything that contradicts your desired reality. The development of selective attention through conscious ignorance requires great discipline at first, but it becomes natural with practice. You begin to automatically filter out contradictory evidence and automatically notice supporting evidence. Your perception begins to align with your assumption. And as your perception changes, your experience follows. This selective attention also applies to your memory. You must learn to remember only those experiences that support your current assumption and to forget those that contradict it. This is not about lying to yourself about the past. This is about choosing which aspects of your past to keep alive in your consciousness. You must remember your successes and forget your failures. You must remember when you felt loved and forget when you felt rejected. You must remember when you felt confident and forget when you felt insecure. Your memory is not a factual record of events. It is a selective interpretation of experiences. By consciously choosing what to remember and what to forget, you are literally reshaping your identity. You are building a new sense of self based on the experiences that support who you are becoming rather than who you have been. These 5 ways: assumption without announcement, mental rehearsal in solitude, inner dialogue, transformation, emotional independence, and selective attention through conscious ignorance are not separate techniques, but interconnected aspects of a single practice. The conscious creation of reality through the disciplined use of imagination and feeling. When you assume without announcement, you protect your desired reality from the contradictory beliefs of others. When you rehearse mentally in solitude, you make your desired reality familiar and natural to your consciousness. When you transform your inner dialogue, you continuously reinforce your new assumptions. When you develop emotional independence, you maintain the feeling of your wish fulfilled regardless of circumstances. When you practice selective attention through conscious ignorance, you gradually shift your entire perception to align with your desired reality. These practices must be maintained quietly, consistently, persistently. They cannot be intermittent efforts or casual experiments. They must become your way of life, your natural approach to consciousness, your automatic response to every situation. In the silence of your daily existence, away from the noise and distraction of the world, you must work on yourself with the same dedication that a craftsman works on his masterpiece. The beauty of building yourself quietly is that it allows your transformation to happen naturally, without resistance, without opposition. When you announce your intentions to the world, you invite argument. When you try to change your external circumstances directly, you encounter resistance. But when you work on yourself internally, quietly, consistently, your external world has no choice but to conform to your inner transformation. Most people approach life backwards. They try to change their circumstances in order to change how they feel. They try to get love in order to feel lovable. They try to get money in order to feel secure. They try to get recognition in order to feel worthy. But this approach puts them at the mercy of external conditions over which they have no direct control. The conscious creator reverses this process. Instead of trying to get in order to feel, you feel in order to get. Instead of trying to become in order to be, you be in order to become. You start with consciousness, with imagination, with feeling, and you let the external world rearrange itself to match your inner state. This is why building yourself quietly is so powerful. It allows you to work directly with the creative principle without interference from the limiting beliefs of others or the contradictory evidence of your senses. In the sanctuary of your own consciousness, you can assume any identity, experience any reality, feel any emotion. You can literally be anyone you choose to be and experience anything you choose to experience. But this inner work must be balanced with outer action when such action is inspired. Building yourself does not mean becoming passive or inactive. It means that your actions flow from your assumptions rather than from your circumstances. When you have assumed the consciousness of your desired reality, you will be naturally inspired to take actions that align with that consciousness. But these actions will feel effortless and natural because they will be expressions of who you have become in consciousness rather than desperate attempts to become who you want to be. The person who builds themselves quietly becomes a mystery to the world. Others cannot understand how they remain so calm in the midst of chaos, so confident in the face of apparent obstacles, so joyful despite difficult circumstances. They cannot see the inner work that is being done, the assumptions that are being maintained, the reality that is being created in consciousness. This mystery is part of the power. They are not suggestions for your consideration, but imperatives for your transformation. If you truly desire to change your life, if you genuinely want to become the person you were meant to be, if you sincerely seek to manifest your deepest desires, then you must commit yourself to these practices with unwavering dedication. Start tonight. Begin immediately in the privacy of your own room. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Feel yourself to be what you desire to be. Do not announce this assumption to anyone. Guard it like a precious secret. Rehearse it in your imagination until it feels completely natural. Transform your inner dialogue to reflect this new reality. Maintain the emotional state of your assumed identity, regardless of external circumstances. Direct your attention only toward evidence that supports your assumption and ignore everything that contradicts it. Do this quietly, consistently, persistently. Do it when others are sleeping, when the world is distracted, when you are alone with your thoughts. Make these practices your secret discipline, your hidden strength, your private power. Build yourself in the silence and let the world discover your transformation when it manifests in undeniable reality. Remember, consciousness is the only reality. Everything else is simply consciousness externalized, consciousness made visible, consciousness expressed in form. When you change your consciousness, you change your world. When you assume a new identity in consciousness, you will express that identity in experience. When you feel yourself to be what you desire to be, you will find yourself living as what you desire to be. This is not a matter of belief or faith in the conventional sense. This is a matter of understanding and application, just as you do not need to believe in the law of gravity to experience its effects. You do not need to believe in these principles to benefit from their application. They work whether you believe in them or not because they are fundamental laws of consciousness, not religious doctrines or philosophical theories. The only requirement is that you apply them consistently and with understanding. You must understand that imagination is reality, that feeling is the secret, that consciousness is the only cause. You must understand that your external world is always a perfect reflection of your internal world, that your experiences are always consistent with your assumptions, that your life is always expressing your consciousness. With this understanding, you have no choice but to take complete responsibility for your life. You can no longer blame circumstances, other people, or external conditions for your experiences. You must recognize that you are the author of your own story, the creator of your own reality, the architect of your own destiny. This recognition is simultaneously humbling and empowering. It is humbling because it means you cannot blame anyone else for what you do not like in your life. It is empowering because it means you have the power to change anything you do not like in your life. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the creator of your circumstances. Tonight, as you leave this place and return to your daily life, carry with you the knowledge that you have within you right now, everything you need to transform your existence completely. You do not need anyone's permission, anyone's approval, anyone's assistance. You need only the willingness to assume the consciousness of your reality and to maintain that assumption until it hardens into fact. Build yourself quietly. Walk on yourself in secret. Transform yourself in silence. Let the world discover your new reality when it manifests, but do not seek their approval for your inner work. Do not require their understanding of your methods. Do not need their validation of your assumptions. You are consciousness expressing itself in human form. You have within you the same creative power that brought the universe into existence. You can speak worlds into being with your imagination. You can feel realities into manifestation with your emotions. You can assume identities that will inevitably express themselves in your experience. The 5 ways I have shared with you are your tools, your methods, your daily practices. Use them faithfully, apply them consistently, trust them completely in the quietness of your disciplined consciousness. Build the life you desire. Become the person you were meant to be and manifest the reality that matches your highest vision of yourself. Your transformation begins now in this moment with your next assumption about yourself. Make it a magnificent assumption. Make it worthy of who you truly are. Make it consistent with your deepest desires and your highest potential. Then guard it, nurture it, maintain it, and live from it until it becomes your undeniable reality. This is your power. This is your responsibility. This is your opportunity. Build yourself quietly and let your life speak louder than your words ever could. The secret I wish to impart to you this evening is this: only 1 minute of properly directed consciousness is required to set in motion the forces that can manifest even the seemingly impossible in your world. 1 minute of perfect imaginative control can birth miracles that defy all logical explanation. Many of you have traveled great distances to be here tonight, seeking answers, seeking transformation. You have tried countless methods, followed numerous teachers, and yet the fulfillment of your desires remains elusive. I say to you now, cease your searching in the external world. The kingdom you seek is within you, and it requires but a moment of proper attention to unlock its boundless treasures. When I speak of 1 minute, I am not speaking in terms of compromise or limitation. Rather, I am revealing to you the tremendous power that resides in a perfectly concentrated moment of consciousness. For time, as you understand it in your waking state, is merely an illusion, a creation of your own wonderful human imagination. In the realm of true creation, in the realm of imagination, there is no time. There is only the eternal now, pregnant with infinite possibilities. And it is in this eternal now that all your desires already exist as accomplished facts. Your task is not to create what you desire, but to claim it as already yours through the controlled direction of your imagination. Consider this fundamental truth. Your consciousness, your awareness of being is God. The Bible declares, I am that I am. This is not speaking of a deity removed from you, dwelling in some distant heaven. This I am is your fundamental awareness of existence, your consciousness, and it is the one and only created power in the universe. When you say I am, you are declaring the name of God. And whatever you attach to this divine declaration becomes the condition, the state you experience. If you say I am sick, I am poor, I am unwanted, you are using the creative power of the universe to manifest these very states. But equally, when you declare I am wealthy, I am loved, I am successful, even when all appearances contradict these statements, you are engaging the same divine power to bring these conditions into your experience. The 1 minute I speak of is a minute of complete immersion in the feeling of your wish fulfilled. It is a minute in which you close the doors of your senses to the present limitations that surround you and enter fully into the imaginal scene that implies the fulfillment of your desire. In that minute, properly employed, you can rewrite the script of your life. Let me share with you an experience of one of my students that illustrates this principle perfectly. This gentleman had been unemployed for nearly 2 years. His savings were depleted, his confidence shattered, and his family was on the verge of destitution. Every job interview ended in rejection. The external facts of his life painted a picture of hopelessness. I instructed him to take 1 minute, just 1 minute before falling asleep each night, to feel as though he were already employed in a position that gave him satisfaction and financial abundance. I told him not to visualize the process of getting the job, but rather to feel the naturalness of already having it. He was to imagine a scene that implied the fulfillment of this desire. Perhaps a friend congratulating him on his new position, or the feeling of depositing his ample paycheck, or the satisfaction of contributing meaningfully to his workplace. The scene itself was not important. What mattered was the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the conviction that what he desired was already his. For several nights, he practiced this exercise faithfully. On the 5th day, he received a phone call from a company he had never applied to. A mutual acquaintance had recommended him for a position that perfectly matched his skills and paid considerably more than he had ever earned before. Within a week, he was employed. What 2 years of external effort could not accomplish, 5 minutes of properly directed imagination achieved effortlessly. Was this a coincidence? Was it luck? I tell you, it was neither. It was law. The law were your own being made manifest. For when you enter into an imaginal scene and make it real through the power of feeling, you have activated forces beyond your conscious understanding, forces that reality to conform to your dominant impression. The scriptures tell us faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. This faith is not mere wishful thinking or intellectual acceptance of a doctrine. Faith is the feeling of possession, the assurance that what is not yet visible to your mortal eye already exists in the reality of your imagination. And your imagination, being God in action within you, cannot fail to objectify that which you have faithfully embodied in feeling. Some of you may be thinking, but Wayne, 1 minute seems too short a time to change the conditions of my life that have persisted for years. To this I would say you underestimate the power of your own consciousness. It is not the duration of time spent in your imaginal act that determines its efficacy, but the intensity of feeling, the completeness of your immersion in the state desire. A single match properly struck can set an entire forest ablaze. Similarly, a single moment of perfectly focused imagination suffused with the feeling tone of reality can set in motion the forces that will inevitably result in the manifestation of your desire. Regardless of how impossible it may seem to your rational mind, the great secret that the mystics and sages have always known is that creation is finished. All that you could ever desire to be, do, or have already exists in what I call the infinite states of consciousness. Your journey is not one of creating anew, but of selecting and embodying the state that corresponds to your desire. And this selection is done through the faculty of attention controlled by your imagination. When I instruct you to take 1 minute to feel yourself into the state of your wish fulfilled, I am giving you the key to unlocking the treasure house of infinity. For in that 1 minute, if properly employed, you transcend time itself. You step out of the limitations of your current state and enter a new state of consciousness. And your outer world must reshape itself to mirror this inner change. There was a woman in one of my lectures some years ago who had been diagnosed with an incurable heart condition. The physicians had given her perhaps 6 months to live. After hearing me speak on this principle, she decided to take 1 minute each day to feel the joy and gratitude of being perfectly healthy. She imagined hearing her doctor say, "I cannot understand it. Your heart shows no sign of disease whatsoever." She felt the relief, the boundless gratitude, the sheer joy of this pronouncement. 3 months later, upon her regular examination, her doctor was baffled. The test showed no trace of the previous condition. Further examinations confirmed that her heart was functioning perfectly. The medical community called it a spontaneous remission and unexplainable healing, but she and I knew better. It was the perfect working of law. She had selected a different state of consciousness, and her body conformed to that selection. You see, the outer world is nothing more than the projection of your inner assumptions. Change the assumption, and you change the projection. It cannot be otherwise, for consciousness is the only reality, and your assumptions determine which state of consciousness you occupy. The 1 minute practice I am giving you this evening is so simple that many will dismiss it as too elementary to produce significant results. Yet its very simplicity is what makes it so powerful. You need no special equipment, no esoteric knowledge, no years of disciplined practice. You need only your imagination and the willingness to feel the naturalness of your desire fulfilled. Here is how you employ this 1 minute practice. First, clarify what you truly desire, not the means to the fulfillment, but the end itself. If you desire wealth, what does wealth mean to you? Is it a specific sum in your bank account? Is it the freedom to travel? Is it the ability to help others financially? Clarify the essence of your desire. Next, create a scene that would imply the fulfillment of this desire. If your desire is for perfect health, perhaps imagine a friend commenting on how vibrant and energetic you appear. If your desire is for harmonious relationship, perhaps imagine yourself and your beloved sharing a moment of perfect understanding and joy. The scene should be brief, easily visualized, and imply that your desire is already fulfilled. Then set aside 1 minute, preferably just before sleep, when your mind is naturally relaxed and receptive, and completely immerse yourself in this scene. Do not merely visualize it as if watching a movie. Enter into it fully. Be a participant, not a spectator. Feel the solidity of objects you would touch in this scene. Hear the sounds that would be present. Most importantly, feel the emotions that would be yours if this imaginal act were your present reality. For that 1 minute, let nothing disturb your concentration. If your attention wanders, gently bring it back to your scene. Infuse the scene with the absolute conviction that this is now reality. Feel the naturalness, the off-course of your desire fulfilled. Then release the scene completely. Do not spend the rest of your day wondering when or how your desire will manifest. Remember, in the reality of imagination, which is the only reality, your desire is already fulfilled. The outer manifestation is merely the shadow, the echo of what you have already accepted as real in consciousness. Let me tell you of another student who applied this principle to what seemed an impossible situation. This gentleman was in his late 52nds and had been passed over for promotion repeatedly in favor of younger colleagues. He had specialized knowledge that was valuable to his company, but management saw him as too close to retirement to invest in his advancement. After learning this principle, he took 1 minute each night to feel the satisfaction of being called into his supervisor's office and being informed of his promotion to regional director, a position 2 levels above his current role. He felt the handshake, heard the congratulatory words, felt the surge of validation that would accompany such an event. Within 3 weeks, a corporate restructuring was announced. The regional offices were being reorganized, and to everyone's surprise, including his own, he was appointed regional director. When he spoke with the executive who had selected him for the role, he was told, "We need someone with your specific experience and knowledge base to guide this transition." The decision became obvious once we reviewed the requirements. What appeared impossible, a double promotion for a man considered too senior for advancement, manifested effortlessly once he had planted the seed in consciousness through his 1 minute imaginal act. The Bible tells us the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed which a man took and planted in his field. Though it is the smallest of all seeds, yet when it grows, it is the largest of garden plants. Your 1 minute imaginal act is this mustard seed, seemingly insignificant in it, is brevity yet containing within it the full power of creation, which, when planted in the fertile soil of your consciousness, must grow into the full manifestation of your desire. Many of you have been taught that worthwhile achievements require struggle, that you must earn your good through labor and sacrifice. This is the thinking of the world, and it has kept humanity in bondage for centuries. I am offering you freedom from this bondage through the recognition that consciousness, not action, is the foundational created power. Right action will follow naturally from right consciousness. When you have truly assumed the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you will be automatically guided to take whatever steps are necessary for its manifestation in the outer world. But these actions will not be the strained efforts of someone trying to make something happen. They will be the natural, almost effortless expressions of your state of being. Some of you may be wondering about timing, how long you ask between my imaginal act and its fulfillment in the outer world. This is a question that cannot be answered with precision, for it depends on many factors: the naturalness of the state to your particular consciousness, the degree to which your desire conforms to what I call the law of assumption, and the time required for the reshaping of external circumstances. But know this: the manifestation will occur precisely the right moment in what Scripture calls the fullness of time. Your task is not to be concerned with when, but to remain faithful to the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled. For the very concern about timing betrays a lack of faith in the reality of your imaginal act. I have had experiences where manifestation occurred within hours of my imaginal act, and others where months passed before the seed I had planted flowered into outer reality. But in every case, the manifestation came not because I made it happen through anxious monitoring, but because the law of consciousness is infallible. What you assume to be true with feeling must objectify itself in your world. You might ask, can this principle be applied to seemingly impossible situations, to the healing of supposedly incurable diseases, to the transformation of seemingly fixed circumstances, to the manifestation of desires that reason says cannot be fulfilled? And I answer you with an emphatic yes. For what appears impossible to your rational mind is merely a limitation imposed by your current beliefs about what is possible. When you shift your consciousness through the power of your controlled imagination, you transcend these limitations. You align yourself with the creative power that fashioned the universe. And to this power, which is your own wonderful human imagination, nothing is impossible. I know a man who was told by multiple medical specialists that he would never walk unassisted again after a devastating accident. Following the principle I am sharing with you tonight, he spent 1 minute each day feeling the naturalness, the joy of walking freely, feeling the ground beneath his feet, experiencing the ease of movement that had been his before the accident. Against all medical prognosis, within 6 months he was walking without assistance. His physicians were baffled, attributing his recovery to some anomaly in their initial diagnosis, but he knew the truth. He had selected a different state of consciousness, and his body had reshaped itself to conform to this new selection. This principle applies not only to individual transformation, but to the reshaping of relationships as well. If you are experiencing discord with another person, do not try to change them through external effort or persuasion. Instead, take your 1 minute to imagine an interaction with this person that embodies the harmony you desire. Feel the naturalness of understanding between you, the ease of communication, the mutual respect and appreciation. Do this faithfully, and you will be amazed at the transformation that occurs. Not because you have manipulated the other person, but because you have transformed your own consciousness regarding the relationship. And since all relationships exist in consciousness, the outer expression of the relationship must conform to your inner assumption. A woman once came to me in great distress over her marriage. For years, her husband had been emotionally distant, critical, and unaffair. They had tried counseling without success, and she was contemplating divorce as her only option for happiness. I instructed her to take 1 minute before sleep each night to feel the joy and gratitude of being in a loving, harmonious marriage with this same man. I told her not to imagine a different man or a different marriage. But this same relationship transformed by her shift in consciousness. She imagined her husband looking at her with love and appreciation, speaking words of affection, sharing moments of genuine connection. She felt the relief, the happiness, the fulfillment of being in such a relationship. Within 3 weeks, subtle changes began to appear in her husband's behavior. He became more attentive, less critical. He began initiating conversations rather than retreating into silence. Within 2 months, their marriage had transformed to such a degree that she could hardly believe this was the same relationship that had caused her such anguish. Did her 1 minute practice somehow control or manipulate her husband against his will? Not at all. What it did was shift her consciousness regarding the relationship, and since consciousness is the only reality, the outer picture, including her husband's behavior, had to adjust to reflect this inner change. This principle of the 1 minute imaginal act applies with equal power to conditions that appear to involve multiple individuals or complex social structures. If you desire a particular position in your company, do not concern yourself with the politics of advancement or the competition from others. Take your 1 minute to feel the satisfaction, the sense of accomplishment, the naturalness of already occupying that position. If you seek financial abundance in a challenging economic environment, do not focus on the statistics of scarcity or the limitations of your current income. Use your 1 minute to feel the security, the freedom, the joy of having abundant resources regardless of what your bank statement currently shows. The outer circumstances, no matter how apparently fixed or immutable, are but shadows, reflections of past assumptions. Change the assumption in your 1 minute practice, and the reflection must change in accordance with this new assumption. This is not wishful thinking. It is the operation of immutable law. Many spiritual traditions teach that creation is complete, that all possible states and conditions already exist in what might be called a fourth dimensional reality. Your task is not to create what you desire, but to select through the power of your focused imagination the particular state that corresponds to your desire, and to enter that state through the feeling of its reality. This is what Scripture means by "before you call, I will answer." Your desire in its fulfilled state already exists as a present fact in consciousness. Your imaginal act is not creating it anew, but claiming what already exists in the realm of infinite possibility. The story of the fig tree in the Gospel provides a perfect illustration of this principle. Jesus, seeing a fig tree without fruit, spoke to it, saying, "No man eat fruit of thee hereafter forever." The disciples noted that the tree appeared unchanged at that moment. But the following day, as they passed by, they saw that the fig tree had withered from the roots. This is how your 1 minute imaginal act operates. In the moment of your focused imagination, you may see no outer change in your circumstances, but the seed has been planted. The root has been established in consciousness, and the outer manifestation must follow as surely as the withering of the fig tree followed Jesus' word. Some of you may be thinking, but I have tried visualization before without results. To this I would say there is a world of difference between mere visualization as a mental exercise and the complete immersion in the feeling of the wish fulfilled that I am describing to you tonight. Visualization without feeling is sterile and powerless. It is the feeling that gives life to your imaginable act, the feeling of naturalness, of readiness, of complete acceptance that what you are imagining is now reality. In that feeling lies the transformative power that reshapes your outer world. Moreover, many who practice visualization continue to grant reality to their current imitations. They see their visualization as something that may happen in the future if they are persistent enough or lucky enough. This divided consciousness, one part affirming the desired state, another part affirming the reality of its absence, neutralizes the creative power of their imaginal act. When I have shut you to take 1 minute to feel the wish fulfilled, I am asking you to temporarily but completely set aside your awareness of its absence in your outer world. For that 1 minute, you must grant your imaginal at the same degree of reality, the same sense of solidity and naturalness that you normally grant to your physical surroundings. This requires practice, for we have been conditioned since childhood to trust the evidence of our senses above all else. But with persistence, you will develop the ability to immerse yourself so completely in your imaginal scene that for the duration of your practice, it is more real to you than the physical world around you. And when you achieve this state, even for 1 minute, you have planted a seed that cannot fail to flower into manifestation, for consciousness is the only reality. And what you have made real in consciousness must by law become real in your outer experience. Let me share with you one more illustration of this principle in action. A dear friend of mine had a lifelong dream of owning a particular type of home in a specific neighborhood. A neighborhood where properties rarely came on the market, and they did commanded prices far beyond her financial reach. By all rational assessment, her desire was impossible to fulfill. I instructed her to take 1 minute each day to feel the joy of already living in this home. Not to visualize how she might acquire it or to worry about the financing, but simply to feel the satisfaction of ownership, to feel herself moving through the rooms, enjoying the garden, welcoming friends to this beloved space. For several weeks, she practiced faithfully, and then, as often happens when the seed has been properly planted, she largely forgot about her formal practice, as the feeling of ownership became natural to her consciousness. 6 months later, she was contacted by an elderly woman who owned precisely the type of home my friend had been imagining in exactly the neighborhood she desired. The woman who was moving to another state to be near her children had specific ideas about who should live in her home. She wanted someone who would love it as she had, who would maintain its character and beauty. Through a series of circumstances that appeared coincidental, but were in fact the natural outworking of consciousness, this woman offered my friend the opportunity to purchase the home at significantly below market value with financing terms that made it accessible despite my friend's limited resources. Was this luck? Was it chance? I tell you, it was the perfect operation of law. My friend had planted the seed in consciousness through her 1 minute practice. She had selected a different state, the state of being the owner of this type of home, and her outer reality reshaped itself to conform to this inner selection. The circumstances that brought about this manifestation appeared natural, even coincidental. This is always the case. The bridge of incidents leads from your current state to the fulfillment of your desire will appear perfectly natural when viewed from the outside. It is only when you understand the law of consciousness that you recognize these coincidences as the orderly fulfillment of what you have established in imagination. As we draw out towards the conclusion of our time together, I want to emphasize that this principle I have shared with you, the principle of the 1 minute imaginal act, is not for special occasions or dramatic transformations. It is meant to be the normal, natural way you approach every aspect of your life. Just as you would not attempt to drive from New York to Los Angeles without first establishing Los Angeles as your destination, so you should not move through life without first establishing in consciousness the states you wish to occupy. Your 1 minute practice is simply the means by which you establish these states, planting the seeds that must grow into manifestation. Some will say that this approach to life is impractical, that it ignores the hard realities of existence. To them, I say what you call hard realities are merely the hardened impressions of past thoughts and assumptions. They appear solid and immutable only because you continue to grant them reality through your attention and belief. When you shift your attention to the feeling of your wish fulfilled, even for 1 minute of complete immersion, you have begun the process of dissolving these hardened impressions and replacing them with the impression of your new assumption. And since impression is followed by expression, as surely as summer follows spring, your outer world must reshape itself to express this new impression. Do not be discouraged if the full manifestation of your desire does not appear immediately following your 1 minute practice. Remember the fig tree which did not wither in the moment of Jesus' word, but had changed from the roots, a change that became visible the following day. Your imaginal act may likewise be working from the roots, reshaping circumstances that are not yet visible to your physical senses. The interval between your imaginal act and its fulfillment in the outer world is a period for faith. Not the faith that hopes or wishes, but the faith that knows with certainty that what has been established in consciousness must objectify itself in experience. This faith is not belief in something that may or may not happen. It is the deep knowing that creation is finished, that what you have felt as real in consciousness is already a fact and the only reality that matters. As you leave this gathering tonight, I urge you to put this principle into immediate practice. Select a desire, something you truly want to be, to do, or to have. Create a brief scene that would imply the fulfillment of this desire. Then tonight, before you sleep, take just 1 minute to enter fully into this scene, to feel its reality with all the power of your emotional being. Do not approach this as a test of the principle for doubt, and testing imply the possibility of failure. Instead, approach it with the innocent wonder of a child who knows that what is imagined with complete faith is already in the process of becoming reality. 1 minute properly employed in the feeling of the wish fulfilled contains within it the power to transform your life in ways that may now seem miraculous or impossible. For in that 1 minute, you are engaging the creative power of the universe, your own wonderful human imagination, and directing it consciously towards the fulfillment of your desire. And when you truly understand and apply this principle, you will know the truth of the scripture, all things are possible to him that believeth. For belief in its deepest sense is not intellectual acceptance, but emotional surrender to the reality of that which is not yet seen with the physical eye. Take your 1 minute tonight and plant the seed of a new reality in the fertile soil of your consciousness. Nurture it with the waters of faith. Not the faith that hopes, but the faith that knows. And watch as the universe rearranges itself to accommodate your new concept of self, your new assumption of what is possible. For even the impossible will manifest for you when you have properly directed the creative power of your consciousness, even if that direction occupies but a single minute of perfect imaginative control. In that minute lies the key to freedom, to fulfillment, to the conscious creation of a life that reflects your highest desires. The choice is yours. The power is yours. The 1 minute is yours. Use it lyingly. Use it with complete faith in the creative power of your own wonderful human imagination. And prepare yourself for miracles, not as rare and unusual events, but as the natural expression of properly directed consciousness. For this is the promise in the law. As within, so without. As above, so below. What you establish in consciousness through your 1 minute imaginal act must manifest in your world. It cannot fail, for consciousness is the only reality, and its expression in the outer world is governed by immutable law. Go now in the knowledge of your own creative power. Take your 1 minute, and with it, reshape your world. For even the impossible will manifest for you when you understand and apply this simple yet profound truth. Imagination creates reality, and a single minute of properly directed imagination contains within it the power to transform your life beyond all current limitation. Remember always that you are not a helpless victim of circumstances, but the creative center of your own existence. In your consciousness, in your I am, lies the power that fashioned the universe. Use this power consciously. Use it lovingly. Use it faithfully, and watch as even the impossible becomes your living experience. For when you know that you are the operant power in your universe, that your consciousness is God in action, you will never again be content to live at the mercy of circumstances or to accept limitations that can be transcended through the proper direction of your wonderful human imagination. Take your 1 minute tonight, feel the wish fulfilled, and step boldly into the unlimited potential that is your divine inheritance as a conscious creator in this magnificent universe.